morning, everyone. Really happy to be with you today. And I have a lot of really interesting and great people to share with you some experiences on that topic. So generative AI is reshaping how companies interact with their customers by automating and enhancing these interactions. Hugues. Yeah. BNP has already implemented some of these technologies inside your customer service. Can you please share with us some of your experiences?
Yes, of course. Thank you for the invitation. So at the bank, we have a number of use cases already in production, and roughly more than 700 use cases are in production, and a number of them are for customer interactions. And basically, it depends on the way we interact with the client. Sometimes we interact by emails, sometimes we interact through the voice, and for each of those interaction models, we have dedicated tools and solutions. So on email, for instance, what we have, it's language model that can understand the incoming email, understand the topic, the intention, classify it properly, rank it by order of priority, and route it then to the appropriate expert that can handle the request in due time. So this is the kind of projects we have on emails. It can also suggest the answers. You know, we can use generative AI to auto-suggest an answer that will still be looked at by the experts, by the team. But then it's a gain of time, it speeds up the process, and it improves the quality of what we do, basically. When it comes to voice, we have a number of interactions with our clients through voice. And there, the purpose is more, you know, to post-call, to have a report of what has been said during the conversation. Because through a conversation with a client, there is a lot of information being shared, a lot of expectations, a lot of client knowledge, and we can capture that knowledge in our systems thanks to language models. And this is really important. And also, you know, have like a list of key action items for next steps also to be generated by the AI. And this, you need it like real time, post the meeting, to have this call report. And also, you can use it in preparation of the next meeting. So you have a meeting starting, and you can use AI to prepare the meeting, knowing what was said in the past calls, etc. Also, what is important is to understand that it helps us really to improve client satisfaction and work on client satisfaction, because be it through emails or through voice, all these interactions, the quality of the dialogue can be understood by AI models, by language models. And you know, in the past, we had like systems with surveys where we survey the client. Did you like this interaction with the bank? Yes, no. Can you rate it on a scale from 1 to 10? Are you a promoter or a detractor? Basically, when you have AI in your system, you can automatically, systematically, and more accurately understand the quality of the dialogue between your teams and your client, understand how much you capture the intentions and the improvement areas. So this is really key and important in our daily interactions with clients. Then there are some key processes, like, you know, mortgage loans or an onboarding process, where you ask the client for a long list of justifications or items or documents, and there you use language model and computer vision to extract the data from the document, to cross-check that the information declared by the client are consistent with what we see in the bank statement or in the tax income or whatever. And this is where we really accelerate the processes on key steps of the life cycle of our relationship with clients. And then finally, the last topic, which is probably the most interesting for today, is a conversational assistant. Because, you know, in the past, and it's not specific to the financial industry, it's probably something common to all industry, we have chatbots. And chatbots, they rely on a list of frequently asked questions, plus like a dialogue manager, some natural language generation. But it's very often deceptive because it is scripted, it is restricted to a number of questions that you plan to answer, but each time you deviate, you have a deceptive experience. So this is really the sweet spot for generative AI and large language model, how to move from basic chatbots to true conversational assistants. And there we've engaged in the group together with also Mistral and Giskard on deploying, and we are beta testing today at Hello Bank a conversational assistant relying on LLM. And it's not that easy because, you know, it's not like you have on-the-shelf LLM and you can push it in production and it will work. No, basically, you want the assistant to be a bit specified on your context, on your background. So there you need to do some RAG, augmented generation. Then you want to fine-tune a bit the behavior of the chatbot because you want it to behave in a certain way, to use a certain vocabulary, etc. So there you can do some fine-tuning of the model using like LoRa, low-rank adaptations. And then you might want some specific agents to tackle some specific task that the large language model is not the best option to do so because it's too big and response times are not what you expect. So it starts being complex because you have a large technical stack to orchestrate, a large amount of safeguard to put in place. And this is where basically we did have this partnership with Mistral because, you know, they have a suite of models of different size. And more important, they have it on-premise. So it's very important for us to ensure the security of our data, to ensure the protection of our client interests. So having small to large size models on-premise is key, and working also with Giskard on how to implement responsible AI and control those models is also very important.
Thank you very much, Hugues. Anne-Laure, you work at Gold, so you have many clients. Have you seen similar trends with your customers?
Yeah, absolutely. And I love that Hugues is mentioning the integration of customer context and the customer satisfaction, because integration of the customer context is definitely at play with customer support. Users want personalized experience, and the democratization of RAG and search-based techniques have only increased their standards. A survey actually showed that 78% of users would continue using their bank if they had personalized support, but only 44% of banks are providing it. So we worked with financial institutions like Commerzbank and Wells Fargo with their conversational agents, and the objective was precisely this: provide a frictionless and personalized experience. And maybe a second thing I'd like to highlight is the value of combining LLMs, customer data, and predictive analytics to provide proactive tips. Think about alerts when there's an increase in your subscription. I don't know how many of you are lost in the amount of subscription they get invoiced to each month. Personally, it's my case. You can think about smart budgeting, for example, alerts on how much you can safely spend while hitting your savings targets. So I think this type of combination is really key because it helps going from a reactive customer support to a proactive experience.
Yes, very interesting. Hugues, you mentioned many use cases at BNP with millions and millions of interactions, millions of clients. So what are the main challenges you face when you are scaling? What are the main challenges you face?
I think to scale up, what matters the most is having something that works in a laboratory mode. In a lab mode is something we can all do. It has the good performance, and you're happy with this. But there still has a number of use cases that have no future because you cannot put them in production, have adequate response times, and be performance in the long run with your criteria. So basically, having something in production requires basically 4 things. One is data quality. So it means availability, understanding jurisdiction, access to the data, governance on the data, and in run mode also, you need to ensure that the model is fed by the appropriate data feeds. Then you have the performance of the model, and you have a number of criteria that enter into the performance, not only the pure performance of the algorithms, you need also to ensure some specific criteria that are new with LLMs, like explainability of the model, fairness of the model, and frugality of the model, so not consuming too much engine power to run. Then there is the scale-up in the IT environment. So how can you have robust applications embarking AI with appropriate cyber security criteria and robustness in production. And finally, last one is the user training, user acculturation, because at the end of the day, each user needs to be trained and to understand how they can rely on AI outputs and how they should also be cautious when using outputs of AI models.
Very interesting. I will pick one of these four challenges. The challenge you mentioned about the performance of a model and the frugality. I know that you're working on that, Guillaume, at Mistral. Can you please explain to us how do you face this kind of challenge?
Yes, absolutely. What we've seen in the past 18 months within the large companies is that what mattered was to prove models' accuracy, basically, to prove that you can deliver value with models. And to do that, most companies used the best models on the market with the most advanced reasoning capacities. And that's great to prove that. But when it comes to scaling, there are new topics that comes into play, and Hugues just underlined a few of them. There are two things from our window as Mistral. The first is the model location, which basically we believe as large companies should be able to bring the model to the data, wherever the data is, either on-prem or in the cloud. So that is the first thing. The second thing that matters is that if you pick the best models on the market and you test it, it will cost you basically nothing. But if you want to scale to 50,000 people or 100,000 people, then it's a little bit different. And what you will looking for is not just pure performance, but efficiency, which is the cost-to-performance ratio. And that is to say that you need to decrease the model size, because the cost is directly linked to the model size because of the infrastructure. Decrease the model size without decreasing the performance, which is a key challenge for most of the large companies.
So you're developing specific solution to decrease the model size while still maintaining the performance. How does it work?
Yes, absolutely. So what we believe is that we should bring the right model for the right use case. And most of the time, the right model is a smaller model, not the biggest ones, a smaller model that will be fine-tuned, which is a very barbaric term just to say that we are slightly going to modify the model to adapt it to a very specific tasks. For example, let's say complex customer inquiry. And by specializing the model on this task, it will perform on this specific task as well as a model that is bigger by a factor of 5 or 10. And when I mean behave is in terms of accuracy, in terms of reasoning capacities. So it will be as good, but it will be a lot smaller, a lot faster, and then a lot cheaper. And we strongly believe in that at Mistral. That's why we, of course, have frontier models, but also smaller models that we allow to specialize, and that will also bring topics around what we call function calling, because those small models that will appear within information system, they will have to be orchestrated. And the first applications we see being created are multimodal applications. So we often see big models that act as an orchestrator with agentic capabilities. So they are able to do API calls either to other applications of the information system or towards smaller, very specific models, which means that they are able to interact and make them take actions in a very autonomous way.
So you combine smaller models with an optimized workflow architecture, and the two together are leading to stability in terms of performance while decreasing the cost, right?
Yes, but the performance actually is a good topic, because this is not black or white. I mean, when you launch the project and you move into production, then you reach a certain level of performance, which is acceptable with regard to your standards. But then you need to maintain it in the time, and to maintain it, you need to make sure that you improve the model over time with feedbacks from either users or output control. And to do that, you need to measure it. So it comes to observability and monitoring. And I guess that
yeah,
this is where Giskard
that's
comes
exactly
into play.
what Giskard does. Well, we talk about this new powerful generation of models with this kind of agentic systems orchestrating smaller models or super powerful last generation models, deploying that in production without safety checks and tests. It's a bit like driving on the highway without fastening the seatbelt, basically. So there are, of course, the cybersecurity risks, which are associated with any technology that we deploy. But for this, the case of chatbots based on large language models, there are specific risks which are very interesting to the technology. The main one that we observe is hallucination, which means that your chatbot can provide incorrect information. So think about your customer support chatbot telling a customer that they can get a credit card for free when it's not true. But it can get worse because these LLMs are general purpose models. They can talk and discuss about anything. And user will ask about anything. So imagine your customer chatbot that starts providing some investment advice to your customers. This is technically possible, and this can be very risky for you because it can get some attention from the regulators depending on the kind of recommendations that your chatbot gives. So what we do at Giskard is to test for all these kind of hazards before the model gets in production. And that's what we did, for example, with BNP. Hugues mentioned this Hello Bank chatbot before. That's a project where we worked together. And we did this auditing and provided some possible solutions that were implemented by the BNP team. But we do this with other banking customers like BPC Group or Crédit Agricole, and also in the insurance domain, AXA. So the problem of handling the safety is, of course, the fact that you cannot solve all the issues. So you need to deploy these powerful systems. You cannot prevent all of the failures. You need to control them. And to control them, you need to measure it. At Giskard, we develop tools to do some automatic testing. So one example is red teaming, which means testing your chatbot systems in an adversarial way, trying to induce them in some failure. That could be a failure on the hallucination, that could be a failure on discussing topics which are not supposed to be discussed, or it can as well be a technical failure where your chatbot just crashes and doesn't work anymore. So maybe we can give some practical example about the Hello Bank case.
Exactly, at Hello Bank, so we are in a phase of beta testing of a pure LLM chatbot. So it's interesting to, you can, with superpower comes super responsibility. So since very large language models are capable of a lot of things, you want to control them, and you want also your client not to act weirdly with those chatbots. So the red teaming exercise is very interesting because you will find out all the vulnerabilities of your system, and this is like a check, a sanity check that you need to do, you have to do. And then also it comes with recommendations. So once you have identified the vulnerabilities, we work together on how to fix it, how to remediate. And also here it's a complex exercise because you need to find the right balance between the level of controls, the level of filters, the level of guardrails that you put in place, and the expected performance of your bots. And the more control you put, the less performance you will get because you will really ring fence too much the bot. So here we work also at finding this right balance.
Yeah, so I want to highlight a point about this. It's the fact that the key issue is identifying the possible failures. And solutions after that are relatively easy. With the Hello Bank chatbot, we did our auditing, and basically in 2-3 weeks, all the issues that we found were resolved. And it was in August, so it was during holidays, summer holidays in France. The data science team at BNP was very quick at fixing it. So once you know what doesn't work, then solving it's relatively easy in most cases. So the problem is how you discover what the failures are. And you want to discover this before your model is in production, right? But you also want, and this is a very important point, you want to ensure that throughout the lifetime of this model, that you keep testing, because these vulnerabilities evolve over time. Because the landscape around your chatbot evolves. So maybe you update your documents, you have new offers. So there are just the political situations that change. Think about Ukraine and Russia conflict. It changed a lot in the financial sector. There was a SWIFT ban. Does your chatbot take this into account? So what we do at Giskard is covering all of these cases, tracking what changes in the world, what changes in your company, what changes in the cybersecurity research, and systematically testing it every few days.
Yeah, this topic is obviously very important, and what you're doing is super key. Maybe on this topic of monitoring and guardrailing the performance of the models and in customer support, we have 3 main convictions at Google Cloud: hybrid, grounding, and openness. So the first one is hybrid. In the customer experience space, we believe the future is hybrid between deterministic and generative. Gen AI LLMs do amazing things with topic modeling that Hugues was mentioning. So taking, for example, the insights from customer support interactions, creating friction reports to send to product for continuous product improvement, or generating personalized training plans for agents. So that's generative. But then predictive can do a really great job for super repetitive transactional tasks and ensuring that the conversation follows a certain path. So, hybrid is core at the strategy of our product engagement product. Second conviction is grounding. To control the output of the LLMs, we believe that grounding in the enterprise data and on Google search is actually a great way to check factuality and increase the confidence in user confidence in the output of the LLM. So grounding is a key focus areas of our product teams as well. And the third one is openness. We're discussing about big challenges to tackle, and I think that in the enterprise context, it's key when companies choose an AI platform to ensure that this platform is as open as possible to provide choice. I couldn't agree more on the fact that not one model rules them all. It's important to adapt the model to the use case. Providing choice in the models, choice in the partners who you can work with, I think is key. So, when you think about your AI platform, think about a really open one that provides, choice and work with the entire ecosystem. And I want to congratulate Artefact, Giskard, and Mistral for the project, RGME project, about how you tackle these use cases.
Thank you all for sharing these really, really interesting insights.
We're on time.
We are on
You're
time.
doing a great job.
I have 1 minute to conclude, so we have a lot of time. What is clear today is that generative AI is going to change completely the way we interact with our customers. There's a lot of opportunities, but also a lot of challenges. We talked about scaling, about governance, about monitoring and evaluation. And it's really important to keep that topic and following this topic, because there will be a lot of change in the future. I really want to thank you all for being here. Thank you, Anne-Laure, thank you, Guillaume, Matteo, and Hugues, and thank you all for your attentions.
Thank you.
And last thing, all our speakers will be here in the demo zone today, so if you have any question and you want to dig something, feel free to reach them directly.